Yes, it is indeed a Friday, a football Friday on WFAN. Welcome in, Evan and Tiki, for the next 4.5 hours. A very busy show. At some point in the next 4.5 hours, you'll hear that Edwin Diaz has re-signed with the Mets. So we'll get to that later once it officially happens. We've got Mike McCarthy talking about Jackson Dart publicly. We've got Robert Saleh, the next head coach of the New York Football Giants, and the Jet fans' hatred for the Miami Dolphins. So there's a lot to get to over the next 4.5 hours. But we saw this past year the Jets take out a lottery ticket in Justin Fields, something I was absolutely in favor of. I had mentioned for years the Jets and the Giants bringing in Justin Fields as a lottery ticket. It did not work, clearly. Justin Fields was benched. He's actually not even going to be the backup on Sunday because of a knee injury. So my question to you, Tiki, is that lottery ticket didn't work. News just came out in the last hour that Jonathan Gannon, the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, has announced that Kyler Murray is being shut down for the rest of the season. And it is obvious to the world he will be available at the end of the season.
Yep.
Would you, if you're Aaron Glenn and Darren Mucci, would you invest in another lottery ticket a year from now, this in the name of Kyler Murray?
Not a chance in hell. Here's the thing. When you are a young, or new, let's call it that, because he's not young, obviously, Aaron Glenn, he's 50-plus years old, but first-time head coach in the NFL, unless you've had tons of experience coaching, veteran quarterbacks, you understand the nuances of veteran quarterbacks, particularly one like Kyler Murray. The last thing you need is to bring someone like that. And I'm not maligning him because I actually happen to really like Kyler Murray. But when you bring a guy like that into your locker room, you're going to get disruption. And it's going to be out of your control. And Aaron Glenn, as a young head coach, needs to bring in a young quarterback, someone who he can craft into his mentality and craft into his way of thinking and operating and leading. Because one of the things that we don't talk about it enough is that when you become a head coach, you necessarily have to find evangelists. And I'm not using that in a religious term, just using it as a way to talk about regurgitating what you say. And I'll never forget this from Rondé's years with John Gruden, because John Gruden was the greatest preacher in the history of football. Like, he can make you believe.
I think that's why so many fans still want him to be their head coach.
Dude, there's no doubt about it. He makes you believe. He makes you want to run through a wall, and he hypes you up, and he pops you up and makes you feel like you're, I don't know, He-Man. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, you start regurgitating his mantras. You start saying the things that he says, and you start believing it, and you all pull together. Now, eventually it gets old, obviously, just as with anything. But when you're a young coach, you need that new leader, and it's mostly the quarterbacks, but particularly in this case with Aaron Glenn, he needs his quarterback to be able to run right behind him and say the same things that he does, and Kyler Murray is not going to do that.
Why?
Because Kyler Murray is not that kind of guy.
But you don't think
Kyler Murray runs to the beat of his own drummer. And that's not a bad, it is what it is.
No, but
I'm not saying it is a bad thing. That is what it is.
But you don't think at this point in his career, he is still young at 28 years old. He's been in the league for a while now. And when he's cut by Arizona, and I believe he will be cut, I don't believe he'll be traded. I don't think there will be a market for him.
Yeah.
I know that you could always restructure his contract, but nevertheless, I just don't see a team offering Arizona enough. I think they're going to end up just releasing him.
Yep.
That's where I think it ends up. You don't think a guy who's been in the league for 7 years, who is under 500, who just lost his job essentially, you don't think he would go to a new situation a little different and a little humbled?
I would hope so. But are you going to take that risk?
I'll tell you how I would take the risk.
Why would you take that risk if you're the Jets, especially when there are alternatives in the draft?
Well, I want to explain to you how I would take the risk, because it's not black or white. It's not, yes, bring me Kyler Murray like I'm some kind of Kyler Murray fanboy. I am not. But here's what I like, and I'm trying to figure out, we all are, what the Jet quarterback situation is going to be next season.
Yes.
We all just assume they're going to draft somebody in the first round. They may well do that. We also don't know where they're picking in the first round.
It doesn't matter, though, because they have 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years.
No, you're right. They have the assets to trade. Absolutely, they can kind of roll this draft however they want.
You would like to hang on to some of them.
Sure.
But whatever. Sure. You can do whatever you want if you're the Jets.
Absolutely. Here is the world where I'd be interested in Kyler Murray. I want to explain it, because it's not simply, bring Kyler in. He's my franchise guy. Let's go. I like competition. I think that's good. And I like a young quarterback coming in not knowing or assuming they're going to be the guy within a week or two.
I agree with that, by the way.
If Tyrod Taylor, who I adore Tyrod Taylor. I like Tyrod Taylor. I've always been a fan of him. He's good. I remember 2 years ago debating him versus Daniel Jones, who's better. He's 36 years old. If he's in that room when you draft a young quarterback, that young quarterback's not an idiot.
No.
They know they're going to be the guy.
Right. He's not worried about the competition, quote unquote, for the quarterback position.
I would want a real competition. And someone who is 28 years old in Kyler Murray, who's made the Pro Bowl numerous times, who's a former #1 overall pick, despite what's happened the last couple of years, injuries being a question, work ethic being a question, all that is fair. But that young quarterback is going to view Kyler Murray not as Fugazi competition, but as real competition.
Yes.
And if somehow, because maybe this humbling changes Kyler Murray, he responds in a way in which he wins that job and plays at a high level, great.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
For the short term.
Well, we can make it work. If you've got a young guy who's 28 years old who all of a sudden blossoms, I'll figure out what I've done later with the other quarterback I drafted. That's a good problem. That's not a bad problem. So that's the world where I'd be interested in Kyler Murray. I want to make that clear.
Yeah,
I am not interested in him just being the quarterback next year. I'd be interested in him being a part of a competition next year. Yeah. And that, to me, tell me how that doesn't make sense.
Well, it does. It's just a matter of whether when he gets here, Kyler Murray is going to buy into that. The thing with Kyler is that he came in as a rookie. He was really good, won Rookie of the Year. Obviously, there was some polish that he still needed to put on his game, and you thought it would just come. It would evolve. Cliff Kingsbury gets fired after 2-3 years. All of a sudden, it's a reset. It's Jonathan Gannon now. Kyler has some injury issues. He still is the man, but he's not really the man because as much as Jonathan Gannon is a defensive guy and needs an offensive established quarter, Kyler never really rose to the occasion,
right?
Especially coming back after he came back from his injury. And so I don't even know who Kyler is right now. Like, if he had been with Cliff Kingsbury for 4 years, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it is, and you had seen him hit a peak and you know what I don't know if he's hit a ceiling or if he's not even close to it. And so, to me, there's just a ton of question marks around Kyler Murray because I don't know where the ceiling or the floor is with him. And so, if I'm Aaron Glenn, if I'm the New York Jets, I can't take that risk that he hits the floor and now all of a sudden we've made an acquisition that just turns into I don't know, LOL Jets all over.
But the way, at least I'm framing this, is there wouldn't be a risk.
I just don't think he's going to get here cheap.
Okay. And
that's the problem.
And here's the thing. This reminds me of our Justin Fields argument, in which I was sort of right, but then sort of wrong. Yeah. I'll admit that. Years ago, this is 3 years ago, the beginning of Evan and Tiki, I was arguing with you about the Giants bringing in Justin Fields to compete with Daniel Jones.
Yes.
And your argument was it's going to cost too much.
Too expensive.
Yes. And I said to you, if it's too expensive, I don't want him. Mm-hmm. I admit that. Now, what ended up happening was he wasn't expensive.
Yeah, because he went to Pittsburgh for a song.
Exactly. He went to Pittsburgh for a song. Now, timing of it didn't work out, so the Giants weren't involved.
Right.
But ultimately, I guess I was sort of right in that it wasn't expensive. What I'm telling you right now on December 5th is there's still a lot of unknown about, A, where teams are going to be drafting, what quarterbacks are going to be available, what teams are looking for quarterbacks. I fully admit that. I am prognosticating on December 5th that Kyler Murray, who will end up missing 12 games this season, who missed 9 games 2 years earlier, who is 10 games under 500 at quarterback, who makes way too much money, is going to be caught. I believe that will happen. I believe I'll be right.
No, you're right about that.
Once he's caught and now he's in the free agent market, and this is where maybe this is a 50-50 argument, I don't think he's getting guaranteed a starting quarterback job. I don't think a team is going to be hosting Kyler Murray saying, oh, we love you.
Right.
We need to bring you in. I don't see it. And so if he's in a position where he can sign, he can compete for a job, I'd be interested. That's like, you know what he is? He's a better lottery ticket than Justin Fields.
Okay.
That's how I would phrase it. It's a lottery ticket. It's probably not going to work, but I also don't need it to work as much because I'm probably drafting a young quarterback.
28 years old, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What if I told you that there was another quarterback, same age, maybe more potential, even though we haven't seen it and it's been in fits and starts, that will be available next year?
And he's 28 years old?
And he's 28 years old.
I'm already interested.
Daniel Jones.
Well,
What?
No, I'll tell you what.
What?
I'll tell you what. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to come for that kind of competition the way Kyler Murray is. I think Daniel's doing enough in Indianapolis where the Colts are probably going to give him a starting job. And that's the whole point here. I'm not handing Kyler Murray a starting job just like I wouldn't hand Daniel Jones a starting job. I view it this way. I'm going to draft a quarterback. I want every Jet fan to understand this. Like, I'm drafting a quarterback. Whether it's in the first round or the second round, I'm bringing a kid in. I'm doing that.
Yes.
I would like to do that in conjunction with someone else who's relatively young who can compete with them. And Kyler Murray at 28 years old, if he is willing to accept what I am describing right now, is the perfect candidate for that. Daniel Jones is having too good of a year to be that candidate for the job I'm describing.
Yeah, so Daniel Jones is going to put himself in a position where he's competing to be somebody's guy. Not franchise, I don't think. I don't think he's ever going to be in that world again, but someone's reliable starter for the next 3 or 4 years.
Oh, Daniel's going to sign a contract where he's the starting quarterback for a team. I'll give you an example right off the top. If it's not Indianapolis, want to hear a team?
Who?
The Minnesota Vikings, bringing him back.
I mean, yeah, they have an experience with him. He didn't play. Yep. He was just kind of there to learn and figure out the situation, but they are in a disaster.
And you can see that because of the familiarity. So I'm not disinterested in Daniel Jones because of the player. I am describing, and I think one that would be appealing to Jet fans, you tell me, 888-808-1019, of a young quarterback who's on the roster next year, who is competing with the young guy we draft. And to me, that could turn into the ultimate win-win. If the young player I sign, in this case Kyler Murray, learns his lessons of the past and works his ass off and wins that starting job, so be it.
Yep.
Go be great. If I have a kid sit there for a year, so be it. That's fine. Go learn. If the kid wins the job the way Jackson Dart would have won your job, if the Giants made it an open competition, great.
Right.
Like, I'm not telling you I wouldn't want the kid to start. I'm telling you I like lottery tickets. I like competition. Those are two things I like if I'm building a quarterback room, and that's where I think Kyler Murray could fit.
Maybe. The question with Kyler Murray is always going to be this question until he proves that he is. I don't want to say grown up because that's not what I mean. But he takes the job of being a starting quarterback dead ass serious.
And if he doesn't, he's gone.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, he's a footnote in Jet history.
But do you need the distraction? Do you need or are you just looking for the competition?
I love the competition.
Because if you're looking for the competition,
I love it. Yes.
Then it's hard to argue that because he's a vet. He's been in the league. He's had success. It is what it is. But I don't feel like Kyler Murray comes anywhere and it says, I'm now relegated to backup duties.
Well, then I don't want him. I mean, I'll make it simple. I'm laying it out in a scenario where he would make sense. If Kyler Murray ends up signing with a team in which he's guaranteed the starting quarterback job, it ain't going to be the New York Jets. I'm not interested in Kyler Murray in that way. Here's what I'd ask you, because this is the question where you could really teach me a thing or two.
Go ahead.
If you're drafting a young quarterback, which the Jets are doing, right? I think we're all kind of in agreement, whether they're picking 7,
No
10, 12. They're taking a young quarterback at some point early in this upcoming draft.
No brainer.
Does it behoove the young quarterback to learn and sit behind a Tyrod Taylor or to compete with someone who's a real threat?
It's the latter. It's to compete with somebody who you hope to beat and force your coach.
Thank you.
To play you instead.
Thank you. That is my point.
Right. That's basically what the Giants didn't do.
That's what the Giants didn't do, and that is something I think I've been very consistent about this over the years when talking about the Jets and Giants. It's something I want my teams to do. It's what I wanted the Giants to do with Fields and Daniel Jones. And we could laugh about it now knowing the results, but a real competition, like a real, hey, you can start right away if you earn it, and if you don't, be careful, because the other guy's 29 years old, and the other guy could be great.
Right.
And if he isn't, no harm, no foul.
Right.
And that's where when I heard the Kyler Murray news, because Jet fans, I think your instant reaction is to assume Kyler Murray comes here as the next quarterback of the Jets. Like, if I did phone a friend and call Beningo right now, and we just simply cold called him and said, do you want Kyler Murray? He'd scream and say no. If you explained it the way I envision it, it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, Thank you.
However, I can't help but think, does he have a better chance of being a New York Met than he does a New York Jet in his career? With
Well,
his baseball
he could play the outfield. I'm in.
But it is nonetheless, it's an interesting point. I think Kyler Murray has done too much damage to his career in the league to assume he's going to get a guaranteed starter job, which is
my point, Sean.
Which is why I tend to side with you on this, Evan.
Yeah, look, if and I don't know what the Steelers are going to look like next year. Like, is Aaron Rodgers back? Is Mike Tomlin back? I think it's logical to view that team and say, oh, they would just sign Kyler Murray and give him the starter's job. If that's the case, then I'm not interested.
Right.
Like, I'm being crystal clear about my vision for a player like Murray is I view him as a more advanced lottery ticket than Justin Fields. Next year, the Jets are going to have a different quarterback room. And I like Tyrod Taylor, and I really appreciate the veteran leadership he brings and the fact he's just solid. He gives you a chance to win. But I almost want that Fernando Mendoza, assuming it's him.
Watch that Saturday night, by the way.
I will be. It's already set up on DVR, baby. After Nets Pelicans, I'll be in the building. Got to see my Danny Wolf. It's a big night.
Don't forget Virginia Duke, by the way.
Who cares? Do they have a quarterback I have to keep an eye on?
No.
Okay, then I don't care. But that's how I would envision it. Mendoza walks into that room, stares into the eyes of Kyler Murray, let the best man win.
Yeah.
And we could come up with all these fictitious situations like, well, what happens if Murray's great? What happens if Murray's great? Okay. I mean,
yeah. I think it's an interesting idea. I just think there's going to be a challenge in execution. Because, first of all, Kyler Murray is going to have some suitors. Not, tons of them saying, you're our franchise guy. Let's, get young, failed out in Arizona, but still has so much upside. But he is going to be sought after. And so, are you getting in a bidding war for Kyler Murray?
No.
The answer is no.
No.
And so then you got to go pivot to whoever the other free agent quarterbacks are or available quarterbacks potentially that are under contract with some other team. And honestly, the list is not appealing.
No.
It really isn't. I mean, it's funny because we're talking about Kyler Murray's not the ideal guy. But when I go look at the Marcus Mariotas of the world or the Zach Wilsons of the world or Kenny Pickett's, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's the more interesting one because he actually could be a starter.
I'm going to give everybody a mini job over the next few minutes. I want you to Google picture Kyler Murray. I want you to stare at his face. When we come back, I want you to tell me which prominent New York athlete he looks like. Toll-free number is 888-808-1019. We'll get your calls.